Right now, there are more than 8 billion people living on planet Earth.
Billions?
Is this a problem? Do we already have too many people? According to a recent UN report on the state of global population, the most commonly held view across 8 countries was yes, global population is too high.
It's too damn high.
The question I have is, too high compared to what? And why? Top among people's concerns, and maybe your own as well, were economic and environmental impacts. Simply put, people are worried that we won't have enough food and other resources to provide a good life for every person on this planet. And even if we can, we'll burn up the planet trying to do so. It's no wonder then that a separate, equally massive 10-nation study found that half of 16 to 25-year-olds believe that humanity is doomed.
I'm here because I don't have a future.
To show the impact that the climate change is having on our kids. We're taking away their future.
How dare you?
With nearly 40% saying that this fear has made them reluctant to have kids themselves.
The best thing I can do for the environment is not to have any children.
They will not have children or have any more children because of climate change.
Is humanity headed towards extinction? Is time really running out? Are we at the tipping point for civilization?
We seem to be hurtling off a cliff edge of climate devastation.
As it turns out, none of these worries are remotely new. In fact, the nickname we've given these sorts of concerns, Malthusian, dates back over 220 years. In 1798, English cleric and scholar Thomas Malthus wrote the now famous and infamous book, An Essay on the Principle of Population. Malthus predicted that population growth in England, if it continued its rapid ascent, could not be sustained because the ability to produce food and supplies would not keep up. Famine, disease, and war would surely follow. To better understand where Malthus was coming from, let's jump in a data time machine and zoom back to England of the 16 and 1700s. The country's population had doubled from around 4 million people in 1600 to over 8 million in 1798, and most of that growth had happened in the last 50 years. Malthus was living through a population explosion. So, how did Mr. Malthus do? Did his hypothesis survive the test of time? Well, this one is easy, folks, because no, not by a long shot. The population of England has increased 8-fold, from around 8 million to over 67 million since Malthus made his prediction. And so has the population of Earth itself, from 1 billion in 1800 to over 8 billion today. We can forgive Thomas Malthus for failing to predict the enormous technological transformations that made this population boom possible. From machinery to modern fertilizers, we've radically increased how much food we can produce on any given acre of land. And we have ways of transporting it around the globe that were utterly inconceivable in 1800. Science is never settled, and especially so-called social science. But this Malthusian myth is as close to an open and shut case as we've ever had.
Open and shut case, Johnson.
What's much harder to understand is how any modern Malthusianism survives the empirical facts today. How do people like Paul Ehrlich, author of The Population Bomb in 1968, or Dennis Meadows, co-author of The Limits to Growth in 1972, stand by their failed predictions with a straight face?
Sometime in the next 15 years, the end will come. By the end, I mean an utter breakdown of the capacity of the planet to support humanity.
Why did Ehrlich become a fixture of late-night TV for decades?
You have to get the death rate and birth rate in balance, and there's only 2 ways to do it. One is to bring the birth rate down, the other is to push the death rate up.
That overpopulation remains a popular fear today is first a failure of our culture to reflect reality and of our education systems to teach us the truth.
You can't handle the truth!
The fear of doom is rooted deeply in our human nature, the inescapable fact that each and every one of us must confront our own mortality. Famed psychologist Sigmund Freud called this penchant for death and self-destruction Thanatos, after the Greek mythological personification of death. And yes, the Avengers do have Freud to thank for inspiring their best cinematic villain.
This universe is finite, its resources finite. If life is left unchecked, life will cease to exist.
Speaking of the movies, disaster director Roland Emmerich has $4 billion in box office receipts as proof of this Freudian fear. And I count myself among the moviegoers that loves a great disaster flick. But maybe we shouldn't be making our life decisions based on the plot of Moonfall.
The moon falling onto Earth?
So, let's dig into the facts so we can defeat this fear together. First, of course, the population of Earth has exploded in the past 200 years, from under 1 billion to over 8 billion. Incredible. But how are these 8 billion people living, you might wonder? Are the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer? Nope, not at all. The fact is, as our population has exploded, so has just about everyone's material well-being. All of human history, up until the time of Thomas Malthus and the Enlightenment-powered miracle that followed, was marked by horrible infant mortality. Estimates put the average at 49% across all of pre-industrial society. Then, boom.
Boom.
Our science and tech-powered population boom also led to the absolute collapse of child mortality, which accelerates the boom itself.
Boom, boom, boom. We're done.
But this change is even more recent than you might think. Did you know that 1 in 4 children born on Earth in 1950 didn't see their 15th birthday? 1 in 4. Today that number is less than 5 in 100. Your chances of seeing adulthood today are an almost A+ grade of 96%.
What's the old 96er?
How did that happen? Again, because Malthus was wrong.
Wrong again.
People aren't net consumers. We're creators. We're innovators. We use our big brains to constantly invent new ways of doing more with less.
Check out the big brain on bread.
Economist Julian Simon blew up the population bomb way back in 1981, noting that human ingenuity is the ultimate resource. And the reason why, as his original cover noted, natural resources and energy are getting less scarce. Pollution has been decreasing. The world's food supply improving. Population growth, it turns out, has long-term benefits when people are creators. We're producing more food on less land with fewer people farming than ever before. Literally, half of humanity farmed in Malthus's time. Less than 2% of Earth does today, and they feed all of us. So, thank you, farmers. We need each of you now more than ever.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Famines, especially due to weather and natural causes, which have plagued all of human history, are all but extinct today. The famines that have occurred in the past 50 years, such as in Maoist China and communist North Korea, are entirely the product of top-down totalitarian policy failures. They are acts of terrible men, not God or Mother Nature.
Why is everyone so stupid? Why aren't more people intelligent, like me?
Obviously, people not dying is a major reason for our explosive population growth. But how well are we living? Well, consider this. What today is called a middle-class life would be experienced as the life of kings and queens in Malthus's time. No, scratch that. Today's middle-class lifestyle would be the envy of kings and queens from 200 years ago. And roughly half of planet Earth's population today lives a middle-class life. Half. 4 billion people live in homes with food, clean water, plumbing, electricity, heating and cooling, washing machines, TVs, mobile phones, internet access, automobiles, etc., etc. Think about that. Today we have 4 times as many people as Earth's entire population in 1800, living a life wildly better than Thomas Malthus could have ever possibly imagined. Over 3 billion of them are active Facebook users.
3 billion?
Look, life on Earth isn't perfect, and far too many people still go without. And too many people spend too much time on social media. But it's telling that among the biggest problems impacting many people today and they are very real, are the products of our plenty, like diabetes, digital media overdosing, and the like.
Smack 'em, smack 'em.
Meanwhile, people living in extreme poverty on less than $2 a day has fallen to less than 9% of the global population and continues to fall. That's down from over 35% in 1990. We are on a path to erasing absolute poverty from the face of the earth. By hunter-gatherer standards, one could say we already have. All of this data is public and easily available with simple web searches. Or you can take a look at early pictures of, say, New York and compare them to pictures of Bombay, India. The latter makes the former look like a backwards hellscape. Almost everything we have and take for granted today looks like magic to people not that long ago.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Even our serially confused and too often corrupt global elite can't help but recognize that the Malthusians are wrong. In that UN report showing that people around the world are worried that the population is too high, the authors wisely note there is ample evidence from history that the fears stirred by this false narrative lead to horrors and inhumanity. What else is lost with the ringing alarm of too many? The real and powerful story of progress and the lessons of that progress. We start to see human survival as a problem rather than an achievement, and we retreat to ancient divisions, us versus them, instead of seeking common ground and solutions through solidarity and innovation for the common good. Finding a UN report to be insightful and even inspiring is, shall we say, a pleasant and unexpected surprise.
Say what?
But there you have it. Our world is filled with wonders. When you recognize that our creativity is the ultimate resource, it changes the way you think about having kids and the kind of contribution that really is. Maybe your son or daughter will discover the cure for cancer. Yes, we create lots of trash. But we're also able to turn yesterday's trash into tomorrow's treasure. Consider that in 1859, Edwin Drake dug the first crude oil well in Pennsylvania to distill the oil for kerosene lamps. He and others who followed him, including John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil, dumped the remaining byproducts of that distilling process out as trash into the rivers, including a then useless liquid called gasoline. 30 years later, with the invention of the automobile, that river-polluting trash suddenly turned into a treasure that powers our modern world, and our rivers are cleaner as a result. Human beings are, as Julian Simon said, the ultimate resource because of our incredible creativity. It's how we've transformed a wild, inhospitable world into one where billions of people flourish in even the harshest conditions. We've built everything from medieval cities thriving 20 feet below sea level to water park vacation spots in the blistering desert. If you've got a problem, humans can solve it.
Check out the hook while my DJ revolves it.
This is who and what we are. Not the cringe, but creators. We are creators. We aren't gods, but we are built in the image of one. So embrace your nature as a creative being by creating more of us. Have kids, get married and have kids. Continue your family and humanity's incredible, implausibly triumphant story. That is the message I have for you and anyone else who will listen. A new horizon is dawning, and our greatest challenges no longer lie from without, but from within.